So what's supposed to happen is apartments are, inspected before you move in. But my move was orchestrated, right? So this building and the people's treatment, mistreatment, dilapidation of a building and harassment and attacking of the people that live here is a 30-year-long history. And it's not just this building. It is every building that they own in multiple states. They all say the same pattern. When they lie, they tell the same lie. When they attack, they use the same tactics. All of the tactics are immoral, illegal, and downright evil. So when we talk about orchestration, remember an orchestra is not just a group of people that play music. To be orchestrated means you calculated the moving parts and you decided how to manipulate those moving parts to sound like you want it to sound. Doesn't it sound like narcissistic manipulation? Right? So I've been without water in the bathroom sink for 2 years in a move that was orchestrated by an agency that was paid to make sure I had a good place to live. After $17 different attempts to have events and causations to lower frequency. When somebody wants to steal like your hope, your joy, or make you angry, or steal your money, steal your houses, your cars, they're doing that so that there's less people with hope in the world. But they're also doing that because they know you have a unique energetic signature, is what it's called in a lot of circles, right? And when I say circles, I don't mean like circle up girls. I mean like different social classes, different religious beliefs, different political beliefs, different income levels, because social class and income are different. Somebody could have $1 billion, but not have the etiquette or history of a social class. Or somebody could have nothing, right? Through orchestrated poverty or not lack of education, like you didn't get one because you were, in the middle of nowhere and there was no school nearby. Those kids usually get a really good education. So what you have is sometimes people bring bad habits from places that they come from. And when I say bad habits, what I mean is they come, right? So who would do this to their own property? So I want my students to fill in, right? Fill in why. Fill in why somebody would do this. Because a lot of my how to be a profiler students, they'll be able to fill it in. A lot of the survivors, they'll be able to fill it in, because this is typical orchestrated abusive behavior. But then why would it be done and not have the protocols set up to make sure no one does this type of fraud or elder abuse or handicap abuse or financial abuse or financial attacks, why would those safety measures not be able to have been enacted? So when you're looking at that, look at this. So you had to put some stuff called absorbent on the floors, because if not, these would have not only molded, but other worse things could have happened. But this floor was under 7 inches of water at some points or most points for 75 hours, done to harm tenants. Got it? They literally made sure it only happened some places. But it wasn't like some crazy mastermind level of intellect. It was what they do when they cause these damages has a huge 32-year pattern of protocol that wasn't addressed. When I say that, multiple buildings are damaged in the same way by its owners for 32 years. And people, now I'm talking to the Circle Up girls, right? So you guys know what has actually been happening. The profiling boys, you also know how and why somebody would do this, right? So this floor that you see here with the absorbent on it used to be like this. And why does the whole place, all floors and all rooms, not look like it? With a gallon of water, like a water jug that holds a gallon, that was filling up every 3 to 5 minutes. That's a lot of water, because they made sure to put it on full blast. And then they made sure that it leaked in 19 places around the building. And then they left the whole building flooding for 75 hours. Yeah, with that much water, just flooding. And we have some footage where you can see where a workman turns it on and how fast the flooding starts. There are 3 workmen. Now, when the workmen come, they say that they're going to fix it, but then they talk to the owners after they're in here, right? So that changes the space, that changes the frequency. Having to clear out a room in a decorated place, right? So you got to move all your furniture out, you got to move this and that. So what they were trying to do was ruin the entire apartment. And that did happen to 3 apartments in this building in the last 4 years. The entire apartment was purposefully destroyed. This apartment, I was here, so what I was able to do was meditate, pray, and ask what to do, right? Basically, it was contain it. So for 75 hours, no sleeping, no eating, nothing, just drinking juice, and every 30 minutes, this entire place, all of this would fill up with water, and all of this would fill up with water that was rushing from there, that was rushing from here, and rushing from back of there, and this faucet was there, not there. This faucet wasn't there. There's another video showing one of the workmen coming in and breaking the faucet that was there on purpose and leaving it hanging. That video's on there just live. So let's see. Hi, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So 17 months. They could have done this. But instead, they sent people to bully and break other stuff and harass and defame. So, what do you need anything?
Nah, I'm okay.
Okay. So then,
I'll remove the floor.
yeah, so you're going to just take the whole room out.
Yeah, I put it this floor. I remove the floor.
Uh-huh.
I put it this floor.
Okay, good. So, by the way, it is September 16th, and this happened at the end of June. And they were told to fix it then. Matter of fact, they were told not to turn the water on, but they turned the water on to cause this. So do you, I'm just gonna take this, and then I'm just gonna wait right here. Now you guys get to watch a floor being remodeled that was supposed to be, it would have been damaged if they didn't flood it on purpose. There would never have been any damage. And then it would have been worse if I didn't stay awake for 75 hours, changing out newspaper and cardboard every 30 minutes, all on camera, filling up like big garbage bags with everything that was soaked, and then have to put brand new.
Yeah.
It got to the point where I had to take buses and stuff to go find more cardboard and more newspaper because I used everything around here.
Yeah.
So now I'm just gonna be quiet and we'll watch the floor demo.
Yeah.
7:54 a.m. Thank you, Chrissy. So the owners, with a 32 year of harassing tenants and agency orchestrated for me to move here. And then they flooded my apartment for 75 hours on purpose. And then left me without water in the kitchen for the last 70 days. 63. But they did send people to break other stuff to further the abuse and harassment, not to mention the lies and the spiritual aspects. So what do you think?
Again, the phone?
So this is why we have tips on how to handle when people orchestrate attacks to try to get you to lower your frequency, lose your cool, lose your vibe, or worse. And that's their goal. So the agency that picked this place knew about the history. So they they shouldn't have moved anywhere. And energetically, how do you deal with it? And what do you do when somebody's doing energetic attacks or violating things in complete disregard for your well-being, especially if they've been paid for months to find you a place, and instead they orchestrate a place for you to be tortured. You can just Google evil landlord San Francisco, and it'll pop up. Not just San Francisco, but 20 years of tenants telling the same story, the same pattern. 32 years of this type of harassment and destruction of people's lives and property. But keep them close. Lock them in for the torture, for the harvesting. Not to mention they ignored the building inspectors that told them to fix it and told them to get a plumber 19 times. So this is not the only apartment. There's multiple points in the building. Imagine the whole building was flooding in 19 places, and it was all done on purpose. And then they laughed about it and said they'll just write it off on their taxes. But they caused it. So they purposely flooded the place, knowing that it was destroying people's homes. So it wasn't like a flood and they didn't stop the flood. The flood happened for their other violations of never hiring licensed plumbers and not fixing things that they're told to fix. The pattern is harvesting and chaos frequencies at all points. So what do? Some people just left their homes and let it flood and ruin everything. And they laughed about it. And then because I didn't, they came in and did purposeful damages like cutting this hole in my wall and saying they were going to fix it that night. But that was 2 months ago. 64 days as of today. And then that sink, you already know that's not dirt. And so this is every apartment in here. And a lot of people here noted it, and a lot of people here benefit from the constant chaos and negative energy. So it's like somebody tries to like surround you in a vibe to serve their purpose. So of course this is for educational and entertainment purposes. How do you deal with someone who orchestrates financial loss? How do you deal with who orchestrates various long-term harassments or puts you in a place where they know this happens to people so that they can have it happen to you and get paid for making it happen to you? well, one, you guys know that chaos as a frequency is always an energetic attack. The other financial frauds they did, an agency that found the place and moved 6 different people here. They were supposed to have found a great place. What they did instead was they purposely fed them to where they knew it was good. If you guys can share it out, that would be good. Because what they're trying to do is make sure people don't lose their hope. That people don't lose their hope if someone is orchestrating financial attacks or physical attacks. Long-term abuses. So this place could never have passed inspection. The place that did the movie, the place that gave this the okay, that did all the paperwork and everything, sight unseen to the tenants. When you Google and you see the news stories that have come out, this has been going on for 30 years, but the news stories kind of start in May of this year. Because for 32 years, this was allowed. Hurting people, harming people, surrounding them with evil, or a better way to say it is having them surrounded by evil. And you see, it hasn't taken more than 10 or 15 minutes to do that progress. And even though they did the damage on purpose and then laughed about it, writing it off on their taxes. This kind of behavior is why people are writing in groups and asking people to pray for them, meditate for them, chant for them, whatever your spiritual practice is, or whatever you've chosen with your free will. But when you move someone to a building owned the news story shows this pattern of 32 years. This pattern has been witnessed by people that were moved in by the agency, and that agency has protocols, meaning they're supposed to go through a checklist and make sure that none of this kind of stuff exists. But like when I moved here, there was a 6.5, almost 7 inch, because it was different shape on one end than the other end, chunk missing out the toilet seat. And there's just video of them laughing about doing it. But they did come by Halloween and say they were going to change it, and then muttered around, left some little bags of some weird stuff in the bathroom cabinet, and then said they changed their mind, they're not going to fix it. But that's all on video. You can check it out. And so that took place. Coming once a month and not fixing anything, sometimes breaking stuff, never having an appointment. And so the elder abuse, the harassment, the disabled abuse, the human indecency, the fraud, the defamation, You can't do that for 32 years and keep your soul intact. And then they laugh as soon as the building inspectors leave. Share out the vibe so you can inspire other people if people are trying to target their frequency, or if people are doing inhumane things and laughing about it. Make sure to share it out. Share out the live. And then on the next live, what I'll do is I'll go like I usually do for you guys. I'll sit at a bar, do a meditation, and then I'll give you tips of how you do not let someone targeting your frequency, targeting your hope, targeting your joy, targeting out of gender or gender preference or lifestyle preference or religious preference or your spiritual practice. If people are targeting you, trying to lower your vibe with their illegal behaviors, I'll teach you the tools of how to keep your joy, how to keep your soul intact, how to make sure that the soulless cruelty and the illegalities and the defamation don't get under your skin. I'm going to show you the sink, because the sink has been like this since January 2024, not 2025, January 2024. And they were supposed to have taken, because all the other apartments, they have black mold somewhere. Some have black mold in Home Kitchen. So like I said, the agency that moves people here orchestrated their torture, because that agency has a checklist, and by law was supposed to make sure it could pass inspection, and it couldn't. And so these are here because there's not been working water in this kitchen for almost 70 days now. This is not the original faucet. The original faucet, when they were cited for flooding the building for 75 hours, for 3.5 days, 24/7, it was flooding a gallon of water every 3 to 5 minutes. So it was not just raining in people's homes and throughout the building, it was gushing water like a tsunami, national disaster. And they were laughing about it, actually, making comments, coming by, laughing that they could do that to people. That's not a normal person. That's not a normal psyche. So I usually teach my students, not all people are people. So this crooked, broken faucet was from somebody that said they were a contractor that brought people by and didn't fix anything. But the guy who came in with the people who were doing this on the phone, and he wiggled it and broke it and left it hanging. That's in another video. You can watch that video where you see this is not the faucet that was there, that it was hanging down, and then they came and had someone install this. None of this could ever pass inspection, but most of the workers that they bring in are unlicensed, and they even have some workmen who try to do it, and they'll tell them don't do it. And then as soon as, that's how evil works, right? So the way evil works is they'll use somebody to be a flying monkey, right? And then they'll get other people that they get them to be henchmen, but the henchmen are really like sacrifices, because they're just lying to the henchmen, so the henchmen attacks you. And then what they find out is they're working for the villain. So some people are villains, right? So they come good. Somebody free to mess with. Let's mess with old people. Let's mess with disabled people. Let's mess with families, right? They figure hurt people that they don't think has anyone. But all of this is a frequency attack, right? And so it being a frequency attack.
Oh, we gotta go outside.
Okay, go ahead. So with it being a frequency attack, they literally see that damage. It would have been way worse if I wasn't surrounding this for 75 hours and it was flooding like a lake. So it filled up the kitchen about 7 inches of water. And then every half hour, I would have to change all the cardboard, all of the newspaper for 75 hours. No sleep, no eating. And then they wouldn't change it. And they've brought in workmen in here 16 times. No notice. They just come like on a full moon, late at night, walk around, mutter. When you do your cleaning, you always see that they leave some kind of little bag or a little folded piece of paper with something written on it, stashed in your cabinets. All of that's on video. So that's why they call it orchestrated. So when someone orchestrates an attack on your frequency, then what you're able to do is you can't control the water, but you can control your soul. You can't control somebody's evil, but you can control your soul. You can't control with somebody trying to surround you in chaos, because when the agency moved you from a place with 44,000 views, with people coming in, casting spells in your home, literally with audio. Got it? So with audio, they did full rituals. So the retaliation for those types of attacks is not anger. The coping with it is not fear. Because somebody that broken, somebody that soulless, somebody that low in frequency, they eat anger, fear, envy, doubt like it's caviar. Got it? And so them eating that like it's caviar, they want to make more. So this is not for you guys to say, to be afraid or to be angry. This is to say, this is why you don't be afraid. This is why you don't get angry. And believe you me, they have tried plenty, but it's not their first rodeo. If you Google the name, if you just do the title, Evil Landlord San Francisco or Evil Landlord Las Vegas, those are what the newspapers entitled them, because for 32 years, these cities have watched these people do this. And all say the same thing, and my students will laugh because you know what this means. They'll say, we don't know how they're getting away with it. We don't know how they got away with it. We don't know why nothing stopped them. As they laugh and do more. So when the agents moved here, what they did was like, if you think of it as a series of boxes, right? Because most apartments are boxes. I have argued against that since I got my first degree at university, because I double majored and double minored, and so one of them had to do with design. And then of course, as a neuroscientist, I still use spatial planning to help people understand that having homes be boxes and having them not be highly decorated, like architecture Architectural Digest, that makes a controlled mental state that makes you susceptible to depression or hopelessness because your home should heal you. This was orchestrated differently. It was a home orchestrated to hurt you. So each person here, if it wasn't a villain benefiting from, the energy or harvesting or pollution, right? It was almost like saying, hey, villains, party over here and we'll just keep bringing new victims. And then the victims were like already abused other places. Could you turn that over so they can see underneath? So underneath that you're seeing on the underside of the wood, that's from the 75 hours of flooding. And the only reason it's not molded or worse is because I put absorbent to protect the floor, to protect the fact that, I still lived here. And they were willing to have it mold. And they're on camera laughing and saying, so what, they'll do a tax write-off. So imagine an 18-unit, 4-story building being used to cause chaos on people and to harvest and to give my students, we call it hungry hippos. So people that need energy and steal it from others. So some people like to call it spiritual vampires and stuff like that. I tell my students, don't be dramatic about it. Something that needs to steal your energy is not stronger than you. Basic facts, right? Something that is a vibration that benefits from taking your energy obviously doesn't have the greatest energy. Because if they did, they wouldn't need to eat you. But I also always taught my students who came to me as survivors of incest and ritual abuse and things like that, and SRA, they either came from families or places where that was happening. And so you don't need to dump your negative energy in people, because I have met and have friends and have had clients who were some of the darkest type of practices and bloodlines possible on the planet, in any planet, right? Any realm, thought process, movie, or dimension. And they don't dump their negative energy in other people. And they don't steal energy from people, right? So what you have to realize is if somebody goes this far, that they did it spiritually, orchestrated for you to be surrounded in chaos and harvesting, and that still didn't work. So they resorted to physical assault on your home, on your peace, on your life. And that's why educational and entertainment purposes, I've been a broadcaster for a very long time. I focused on making the world better for other people. The last thing I would think after surviving a national disaster is that someone would think that my isolation meant that I was free bait for them to target me. I've never lost money on my own. Like, I've never made a bad business decision. I've never made a bad investment. People have literally had to orchestrate financial attacks to make me broke or commit major crimes like stealing my houses or my cars in order to put me in a position at what they would consider their mercy, and upon putting me in orchestrated, kind of like surrounded. I keep seeing, God keeps showing me caravan, right? Defeat yourself. So what they want is for you to go crazy. They want you to go angry, right? So they would prefer that you're angry. They would prefer that you are. They would prefer you lose your kids. They prefer that you lose your faith. They would prefer that you don't have a smile on your face. And so what happens is it's like the Batman villain speech. They keep doing stuff spiritually and it's not working. It may affect somebody you're trying to date, right? So maybe you're trying to date somebody and they love you so much, and then all of a sudden they just pop up on a Tuesday and they don't love you anymore, right? God will show you. Your spiritual gifts will show you. Whatever your spiritual or magical practice, it'll show you that all they did was get into that person's head. But this kind of stuff, they're trying to get into your head. So they do the physical, blatant stuff like this when the orchestrated stuff didn't get you, right? So the orchestrated stuff happened long before my houses were stolen, and I didn't even notice, right? They were doing it, and I would just go, oh, that person, and then I do an old Japanese trick. So this is a skill you guys can use. You think no matter what a villain does, right? So yeah, I teach my students, this is how you recognize villains. I'm not teaching my students villains exist. My students have already met the worst monsters on the planet. They have already suffered through the worst horrific things. But when you teach them all things that are monstrous, narcissistic, they function on a pattern. And when you see the pattern, when they first woke up, we used to call the class how to get rid of a narcissist in 36 hours or less. That anybody who ever had a narcissist in their life or a narcissistic attachment, one thing you know for sure is that it could take some people years to get rid of narcissists, especially if you join a fake life coach group and every time you guys talk, you talk about narcissists and what they did. You're making new attachments, but the fake life coach doesn't tell you that because they need you to pay them money and pretend to fix the problem when they're just using an NLP funnel and they have no answers. So as long as you're talking about somebody, if they're in your mouth, they're in your space. If they're on your mind, they're still in your ear. So there's ways to make sure that everything's not about energy, but everyone is energy. So imagine this went from this clean floor, like over in this corner, and then they tried to do it to the whole place. But what God told me, those of you who haven't met me or read my 36 books I've written over the last 28 or 29 years, I was born with spiritual gifts, but I was born in church. So when I write books, it's not woo-woo, it's literal science, because I spent my childhood literally in the lab, like a little scientist with grown-up geniuses teaching me stuff and going through scientific protocols. So I don't say stuff I can't prove with photo and video because I know villains throughout history and all kind of literature, they laugh about that because villains want you to tell on them, so you seem crazy. But one of my first books was to help victims who were survivors. I'm the mom of a kidnapped kid who was kidnapped when she was 2.5, SRA, and it was disclosed by her and 9 doctors and my neighbors before I even knew that it was happening. But I got her out of there, and then she was kidnapped. So that's how I started helping the survivor population. And once I started helping the survivor population, I was shown that there's a lot of this targeting of people with spiritual gifts. And I didn't know because I was raised in church, not, woo-woo. And I didn't like the fact that a lot of the survivors had taken on practices that people then were judging them for having a spiritual practice or a magical practice. So I helped them no matter what their religion was, no matter what their practice was. I just did what God told me to help them heal. So this kind of targeting is not rare. Villains gloating is part of the villain process. So the how to get rid of a narcissist in 36 hours or less, the narcissist thinks you're stupid. The narcissist thinks everybody's stupid, right? If somebody's just straight up mean, evil, like in an anime, and you can see them visually and know that's different, right? So when people start gloating about doing things that are unethical or harming old people or harming children or saying, oh, you have nobody, I can do whatever. Or when they walk in and they promise you the world, but they give you nothing, but they steal your energy, right? So what happens is always remember that you don't lower your frequency, they failed in their mission, right? And you don't tell them you see them. So we teach you the pattern of the narcissist. We teach you the pattern of how they act when they're evil. We teach you the pattern so you can see that you're sitting there talking to someone who came for your downfall. And what happens is they get bored and they leave. They get bored and find a more entertaining victim because they want a little fight back and they want their deception to be believed. But by you staying what is called the uncarved stone, you stay neutral, you stay cheerful, you stay happy. You never go to anger or fear or envy or doubt, right? I've never had a financial downfall that I caused. But I've had people orchestrate financial downfalls for me to literally have nothing. There have been times where I had 11 cents in life. 11 cents, not $11, right? Because somebody stole 2 of my houses. And then somebody crashed one of my cars. And then somebody crashed another car, right? Somebody stole all my business inventory out of an 18 by 20. All of these things were to get me to lose my frequency. But I wouldn't. I didn't lose my frequency no matter what. So that's why I started teaching people this, not because that stuff was happening. That stuff started happening because I was teaching people how to survive anything. You see? So the stuff that was happening because the stuff that I teach people to keep their frequency up, to keep their joy, to keep their faith, right? So if you say God and Jesus, keep your faith in God and Jesus. If you say Ra, I don't care. If you say Thor, I don't care. If you, whatever religion you are, if God tells me to help you, I'm going to help you anyway. But when you learn the tricks, right? So the process of how do evil people act? They love to smile in your face. They love to promise you future. Why do they promise you future? Because when they promise you things in the future, you energetically attach to them. If you don't know any better, if you don't know that it's a trick, you attach to the future frequency. So that's all like Bob Proctor, Neville Garth, right? Neville Goddard, all those. When you attach your mental space, your hopes, your dreams into a promise and a future from an evil narcissist or an evil person, what it does is you build a frequency like a little channel, right? So just imagine if you had like a bag of potato chips, right? That would be chaos because potato chips aren't organized unless it's Pringles. So for entertainment and educational purposes, know this. When you are promised and you call it love bombing, it's not love bombing. It's getting you to plant their seed based on you imagining the life you're going to have with them, right? And they know it because it's not their first rodeo. They've got tons of supply sources. They've got tons of business. They've got tons of practice. And that's why they need to steal your energy in the first place. Because every time you do that, you lower your frequency. Every time you do that, you don't have the energy you need to build anything. So even if they do financial attacks, right? What happens is financial attacks will have you broke, right? Meaning they'll block you from work. And do fraud on your bank account if you keep it in cash. They'll do different things to make sure that how they broke others. But when you do this system, it doesn't break you, right? And because I was helping people that were already broken and things were happy that those people were broken, they didn't like that I was fixing those people. But as a mom of a kidnapped 2.5-year-old, you better believe I treated them all like I would want somebody to treat my daughter. My daughter never came. Not that, even though fighting every day for 28 years trying to make it happen, they were targeting money so that I couldn't fight. Right? I was spending $1,000 a month just on flyers to try to bring attention to what happened to her and things like that. So people would find me and they were victims and they needed help. And when they started recognizing that I didn't judge them based on their practice, right? Or their loss of faith or faith in something else. I didn't judge them. I just healed them. I just was their doctor and I healed them. And that doesn't take me long. It takes me 3 to 5 sessions because of the different degrees that I have and the different gifts I was born with and how the lab trained me for almost to perfect my gifts. Yeah, so to perfect the gifts meant they trained me so my gifts are not random. My gifts can't be used by other people. So the financial attacks were to have people try to lessen, delete, or make me not see the stuff they don't want me to see. But that's not how remote viewing works. And I was born with all the spiritual gifts, so I kept helping. So orchestrating to relocate me here after months of me being somewhere, like I said, when you look at the video, there's 44,000 views of them coming in, performing rituals on the video with audio, so you can hear the whole thing. You can see them put the different little bloody stuff around and say their little chants and all that kind of stuff. And I saved lives of people with their same spiritual practice because God told me to help them. But I did that for 28 years. But after the world had the emergency and after the wildfires in California and after the theft of my 2 other homes, what they thought is if they could make me broke, they could make me broken. But people with millions of dollars will try to steal your energy. Energy is the commodity. See, the highest frequency is the highest rate in the world. It's not how much money somebody has. You never treat somebody. I was trying to talk to a lady at a business meeting this week where God said she felt she was uncomfortable. So I didn't know if that meant she was uncomfortable in her skin or she was uncomfortable in that meeting or she was temporarily uncomfortable, like me, not having money or access to work and consulting like you would usually have because somebody's trying to break you. I started talking to her and she was so hurt. So many people had done so many things to this woman that no matter when I complimented her, no matter when I said, oh, I have that shirt, and then I let her know that I ordered mine off the TikTok shop so that she would know that it doesn't matter if you get something for a dime. It doesn't matter if you get something for $100,000 shirt. I was taught the more money I save, the more money I can use to help charities and make the world better. So I wanted her to know that even if she had nothing and the clothes came from the thrift, she looked beautiful, but she couldn't hear me because whatever was trying to destroy her was deep in her head, which is why I'm making this for you, for educational and entertainment purposes. No matter what somebody is doing, no matter what somebody's done, for those of you who just joined, a move orchestrated for me to a place to surround me with chaos. And when that didn't work energetically, they started coming in and doing physical stuff to my home to keep it in a state of chaos and disrepair, including no working water in the kitchen for the last 60 days, no working water in the bathroom for 18 months, no, the toilet was broken from January 2024 until May 2025. And so they all thought this was supposed to be funny, even though when you think about it, there are protocols set up. There are protocols set up for inspection, right? Which means it should never have passed inspection, which means I never should have been like this. And I had other neighbors who were placed. Some neighbors were placed to add more chaos because the chaos that already lived here, that had been torturing people for 32 years, according to the news stories that came out in the last 3 months. If you look in the last 3 months, what you'll see is stories of people that say, oh, that was my first landlords when I moved there, but they spiritually tortured us, or they did, right? The stuff they did is so evil and so illegal. The state of Nevada, in San Francisco, wherever, right? All these people started coming out because we're at a time where the old games don't work. And one of the reasons they don't work is because people are calling them chosen ones or earth angels or whatever. What that basically means is somebody that's built where you can't break their faith, no matter what you do to them. You cannot break their faith. Not in church, because church is being racist and gossiping, and gossip is the devil. So I'm not talking about do you go to church. I'm talking about your faith in knowing that you are loved even when somebody is torturing you. So I'm making this right now for you guys to see that somebody flooded my apartment for 75 hours with water moving like a tsunami, national disaster. They started it by breaking the pipes and then long-term building inspector violations that they were cited for. But then they came in, and if you see that video, you'll see a video where they are literally laughing. You guys share out the live so we can inspire other people not to lose hope, or not to lose their mind, or not to lose their frequency. So these kind of tips and stuff, that's why I told you about my clients that I've had for 28 years, even though they block my businesses, because controlling your money sometimes controls your frequency, right? If somebody can make you broke and starving, they usually can make you go be a criminal. They can make you lose your hope, lose your faith. So they'll make you have a substance abuse problem. They'll make you lose your mind, right? So poverty has, since the 1500s, has been an attack. And actually, it was invented 2,000 years ago. If you just surround a city, because you used to have to fortify a city with troops and then fight them to break the people. And then they figured out if you don't allow food in or out, then that will starve the people, right? So they tried to starving me. But what happens is, it takes time to starve people. So what they decided is, if you attack people's money and you don't give them an education, they'll destroy each other. Now look at certain neighborhoods and cities and towns. So this so far has been 40 minutes of something they should have done months ago in this case, but years ago in other people's apartments. So they all have water damage because the pipes have been bad for more than 20 years, which they just push stuff around, and it does different damage through the roof of people's apartments. It does a lot of different damage. And then they just leave the damage because they want chaos. If you don't want chaos and you're just like, let's say you are a sophisticated villain. Sophisticated villains don't do physical stuff. stuff. So then people just think you crazy, right? They don't do stuff like come in a house that you rent, then have spells on camera, looking at the cameras, touching the cameras, moving the cameras around, right? So they know they're doing a ritual with audio on multiple cameras, multiple times, because they're playing with the cameras and smiling to the cameras, right? Sophisticated villains don't do that kind of stuff. The ones that are trying to torture you into submission. So what they should have done was not moved anybody here, since there's a 32-year history of these people spiritually and physically torturing people and harvesting and putting payouts. So there's multiple types of practices that live here, and a different type that owns it, and a different, right? So when the agency was supposed to move away from that to a safe place because of their own evil that they wear on their body, literally tattooed on their body, right? Say it out loud. They then orchestrated more, like, oh, we need more evil because all that other evil didn't work for 28 years. So we're going to try, stealing the houses, stealing the cars, stealing the money, blocking the business, lying, defaming. Maybe that'll work. But I will tell you this, as a mom of a kidnapped kid, you can't drive them crazy. If somebody kidnaps your kid and you survive that, there's very little somebody else can do. So it's not that it's not torture, but I am a master at teaching all of those survivors of the most atrocious things how to keep their joy, how to keep their frequency. I don't care what your practice is. I don't care what your religion is. You are soul. And if somebody is trying to dim your light, steal your faith, steal your energy, always remember that anybody trying to steal your energy is not more powerful than you. They're not more powerful than you. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to steal your energy. Your energy is the highest money in the land. That's why so much is made to try to make you dim your light. That's why some people try to dump their negativity. They do so much darkness, their space is full, right? They literally like a whole garbage bin, a whole recycling bin of negativity. And they want to go do more evil so they can get more ill-gotten gains. That's what ill-gotten gains means, you guys. Ill-gotten gains means you got it in an evil way. Well, you pay for that, and to extend, pay later like it's layaway, right? They're gonna lay it away and pay little by little. They don't pay it; they dump it on you. It's that friend that come and whine like Eeyore, or it's that business person that says they came to help you, and they talk about all the stuff they have, but really they're just trying to dump their negative energy or negative chi into your life so they can empty their nasty, dirty garbage pail. And then that makes them get attachments because their frequency is low. Then they try to attach to you, right? An attachment is something as simple as a negative thought that keeps repeating, a traumatic memory that keeps repeating. Those are attachments. But sometimes entities are attachment too. That's like church. Some churches, they say they do deliverance and they're always 24/7 talking about deliverance this, deliverance that. You want to stay clean. But I do know people who are like some kind of magic or something like that as their family, right? Family history. And guess what? They don't do anything like that to other people. They don't dump their negative energy in other people. And actually, when I met one of them, he was like, your frequency is so high, I just had to stand here while you meditated. He said, but then you never even came out of your prayers to see what was standing in front of you. And he said his energy is so dark. Usually if he walks by people, they move out the way. And he said, you just stayed peaceful in your prayers. So he waited till I was finished with my prayers, just watching in amazement, like, what the heck are you? Right? So he's not an attachment. He is that thing. His family made that commitment. So he taught me they don't have to attach. They don't have to dump. They don't have to steal energy. There are other places to get energy, right? So the people that are doing it, they're not some sophisticated evil being. They're just like a little trash can full of icky boo-boo, right? So for educational and entertainment purposes, I'm making sure that you know how to deal when somebody does this kind of stuff. So was it hard for 75 hours to have somebody on purpose turn my home into a national disaster zone and flood it with 7 inches of water? Was it easy for them to destroy my whole sewing room, which is what I use this for, was my sewing room? Instead of having like a dining room, I built a little miniature dining room so that I could have this as a sewing room. Well, no, but when they would come in to harass, right, once or twice a month, they didn't fix anything that was on the building inspector's report. They didn't fix anything that was in a citation that would have made them not even pass the inspection for me to move in the first place, right? But the agency that moved me here orchestrated it. So the agency that was responsible to make sure that everything was kosher, right? So everything it could pass inspection. Everything that needed to pass inspection would pass inspection. They were orchestrating chaos into my life because they were unhappy that when they were supposed to move me out of the place where people were coming in, right? And the spells on cameras and all that kind of stuff. Those people, they came in like every day for 6 weeks doing that kind of stuff. So the people that were paid a lot of money to move me weren't moving me because they were doing that same kind of magic, that same religion, that same darkness. And so they were enjoying torturing me because people had not accomplished their goal of lowering my frequency. And I have saved over 121,800 and something lives. I think it's 888 lives, but I don't keep count. I've never kept count. I just always say I want to make the world a better place, and so I did that. But nonprofits who have to set up nonprofits to protect survivors, right, from bad doctors, from different modalities that hurt them, harm them, cause additional damages, right? Or just can't heal them. They are actually nonprofits set up to do that. Those nonprofits were keeping track of my work, and I wasn't keeping track of my work. I was just helping and traveling and helping it, right? And healing people and all that kind of stuff. I just do what God tells me, and I just use my gifts and my degrees. So remember, my gifts are scientific because I was raised in a lab. As a little kid, I was always in the lab. I was in the lab till I left for college at 17. And they tried to send me to college at 13 or 14, because I'm an October baby. So school would have started, I would have been 13, and then my birthday would have come and I've been 14 in college. And my mom said, no, I want her at university at 14, so you can't, she didn't allow it. So I left for university at 17. And I double majored and double minored. So there's not a little bit of training in what I'm doing, right? There is a lot of training. There's 14 years of university and 8 degrees and credentials. There are 3 specializations, and I'm the top of my field, right? In those 3 different designations. So people worked really hard, including stealing my houses, stealing my cars, crashing my cars. And when I say stealing my houses, I mean houses that I own that were stolen in 3 different ways, and leaving me with no resources during the worldwide emergency. And I mean 0 resources. Making sure that I was surrounded by predators so that the predators could do some of their dirty work that they didn't pull off. And the whole time I was saving lives of people, no matter whether they were dark magic, any magic, Christian, whatever. Because a Christian can be more evil than a Luciferian or a Satanist if they're doing stuff. So I've had clients of every religion, every practice, because I help survivors and I helped who God told me to help. The only other people that I helped are like multimillionaire playboys that I don't know if it's that later in life they get their karma, or they just get they're getting money stolen and their hearts broken by evil girls that show up and plan to do it and play the long game on them. And because as a profiler, I worked really hard helping those men, and I only had one thing, was I would not go after anyone of a marginalized or oppressed race. And what that meant was it's only happened once. They tried a lot, right? But only one time, and that's because that person was hurting little black boys and poor white boys and women and children. And then also defrauding rich black men. So that person was a special one. But when I helped them, something broke them. Something breaks the millionaire playboy. The multimillionaire playboy gets broken by evil sex demon girls. So very often, something will try to figure out how to get you to lower your frequency, to get you to lose your faith, to get you to not use your gifts. And then what they do is they steal your energy, they use your gifts. They, buy it at an auction, sell it to who stole it, right? All that kind of stuff. There's different countries that use different terms for it. But I teach my students to call it hungry, hungry hippos. Because like this educational entertainment purposes, I've taught classes, but the classes always have like funny names. Like my books always have like really interesting titles. But when you open the book is Saving Lives, Increase Your Frequency. Here's the secrets of how to do it. Here's the energy aspects. Here's the metaphysical aspects. Here's the religious aspects. Because as a scientist, it's different when you're a scientist with spiritual gifts. It's different when you're a scientist raised in church with spiritual gifts. So what happens is you don't go astray, because it's like other people already taught you, hey, the bridge is out. So my clients' stories let me know that if I make a deal to fight you because you're targeting or orchestrating financial attacks or spiritual attacks on me, then somebody is going to give you brownie points for doing that. And then I'm still going to need to go back to me, how I am. So I may as well stay me how I am. I may as well just not let myself be transmuted. And I've helped enough people that everybody else would call evil, that were survivors, right? I've helped enough of them to know what was in them, what was on them, how they got there, how it got in, right? That's why I started helping the Playboys, because I knew the Playboys had polluted their spiritual space, right? So they might be one type, they might be born into something that's dark, but then they're sleeping with the whole world. So that gives them all that, those people's spiritual pollution. And then they doing deeds, sometimes in business or life, or being heartless or cold or selfish or manipulative. That gives them a whole nother thing. So what they did to this floor What they did to the walls, like they let this place flood for 75 hours at 1 gallon of water every 3 minutes. That's tsunami, national disaster level of flooding as far as how many gallons filled the place. Luckily, God told me, like, he flashed it with the clairvoyance, but then affirmed with the clairaudience how to do it, that I would need to fortify the place like a national disaster flood. So I basically contained it. And after 75 hours when they came in here, they didn't come because they were like 75 hours is enough. They came because the building inspectors came and like, what the heck are you doing? Stop this, right? And they had to stop it. They were so angry that they came in and broke other stuff to add more damage because it hadn't destroyed the whole apartment. Because I fortified like God told me. So I want to teach you how to fortify your mind as a neuroscientist. How do you fortify your subconscious so that nothing destroys you? How do you fortify your mind to make sure that your body's not infiltrated? How do you fortify your mind so that your subconscious and your conscious mind aren't affected if you're surrounded by chaos, right? There was a movie long time ago, like maybe 20 years ago, and people kept trying to fortify someone that had a guardian. They were trying to fortify that person in chaos and negativity, pollute their food, right? So those of you, if things have been orchestrated against you and you feeling the targeted or something like that, then what happens is this. You gotta put those back or it'll wobble. So when it's done in that way, right? Then what usually happens is they break. These are good. Those are hard. I think it's one and one, right?
Don't worry.
No.
I put it in the back.
Oh, because you need to do it again.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
But that makes it unstable. See?
Yeah. Yeah, don't worry. I put everything. Right.
Okay. Thank you. So they should have done this months ago, but they didn't. Right? For something they caused, and then laughed and said that they'll just use it as a tax write-off. That's not words unique to me. That's words that they have used, and my neighbors told me for months that they were told that, but I only go with what I can prove, right? If I can prove it in writing, even when I remote view for companies or to help like missing children or things like that, when I work as a viewer, because I was trained in the lab, I already had the skill, but I was able to master it better, right? And then know how to utilize it. So you get literally a scientific report of this is where we will find the physical proof. You don't just get me telling you something and then you have to say it. I always provide my clients with the proof. Where to find the proof, not, oh, there is proof. I provide my clients with this is where the proof is hidden, or this is how you put 2 and 2 together. That's what my mom used to call it. This is how you take the proof. This is how you find the proof, and then this is how you put the proof together as a puzzle so that you can make sure that as villains are laughing in your face, saying, nah, 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 we've been doing this to people for 30 years, we can do whatever you want, that your faith tells you that God didn't forget about you, or, you know, if you're a Luciferian, Lucifer didn't forget about you. If you're a Satanist, Satan didn't forget about you. If you're Wicca or pagan, Lord Odin, right? The different thing that you believe in didn't forget you or abandon you. Something just trying to make you think it did, So you'll choose their path or their road so they can use your skills or your power, right? Because they consider your skills power. I don't tend to call it skills or gifts. I tend to call it frequency. When I say gifts, I usually mean the clairs, right?
Excuse me, I need a space because it's very dangerous.
Yes. Yeah, I'm giving you space. I'm moving this so it can be out of your way. So this should never have happened. This didn't need to happen. This was done on purpose. And then they left it with all those nails sticking up. If you look, thank goodness the inspector taught me that underneath that wood, the nails stick up towards your feet. They don't go down into the floor. And the reason that he taught me that was because he wanted to make sure I didn't get hurt while they were refusing to fix it. And then they left it like that. And because the inspector cited them, they had the guy come in and break the faucet. And they didn't fix the plumbing like the inspectors told them. So, no, imagine being like this, carrying buckets back and forth in order to wash dishes or anything because there's no water. The only water is if you turn it on, it starts to flood it again. Oh yeah, because they never fixed it. They just broke stuff in here, faucet-wise. So there's been no water. And then we're lucky because at least this Edgar is the first workman to come to see what's wrong and come back and fix it. Usually the person, they come in, then the owners tell them not to fix it, and then they quit, which is why I think they're on their 8th or 9th property management company. And in California, you don't just get to say you're a property manager. So a lot of times the people weren't even legal property managers, and they just served as more evil bullies. Now, when I'm talking, I don't mean generalizations. When I say evil bullies, to me, all bullies are evil. Because nobody that likes themselves feels good putting other people down or harming other people. I taught high school gang members for 20-something years, almost 30 years. So I taught even after I became a doctor because they needed good teachers. And by then I was sitting on WASC. WASC is a accreditation board to say, are schools teaching? Do they deserve the funding they're getting? Do we need to make changes to the program? Like all that kind of stuff, right? So they trained me for WASC and I was 24, right? So that's a long time ago. And then my students would joke because for 24 years, I looked 22 to 25. Like I didn't age. I just would look younger and younger. And so my students would be like, oh, they'd come back with like husbands, wives, kids. And they would just be like, how do you look younger? Right? Because they went from teenagers to grown up to spouses to parents. And they are now parents with children that can walk and talk. And they would come see me and I'm like, you look even younger than when I was a kid. So 2 things changed that. The death of my, the unaliving of my boyfriend and the kidnapping of my child. So I had 2 bumps of time periods in which I aged. I still don't look my age, but imagine somebody surrounding you like if you stacked 8 boxes on top of each other and then you put a chosen one in the center of all those 8 boxes and then you put chaos or planned, orchestrated vibrational attacks in all the other boxes, including the empty boxes, because the empty boxes here are used for other things by the owners. they're left empty for a reason, and then once a month you can hear people, or you see people going in and out the doors, or places that are supposed to be empty, with packages outside for weeks or months at a time. All of a sudden all the packages are gone and people are in there, and then they put the packages back outside and come back the next month. And anybody in different communities, you could even guess those dates. So if you look very closely, you see all those nails. Thank goodness the building inspector told me that under that part that was raised by the flood, and every apartment in here has a gray floor because the building has had plumbing problems and water damage for over 20 years. And that is not disclosed to tenants, which should be. My floor was new, not the whole floor, but this floor looked new. And then they didn't show me the other units, but the first night I moved in, it literally rained inside in a different room, like it was outside in winter storm. And so they other tenants started coming, because when things are orchestrated, people want to get close to you, right? So when things are orchestrated, people want to get close to you. So what they do is they come up and act like they're introducing themselves, but they don't act like how I was raised, right? Where you make a pie, you make a cake, you do something, right? You do something that's nice and sweet to say welcome. The reason you make a pie or you make a cake is because what if they don't unpack their pies or something, right? So this is all the stuff for my seminars, and I'm going to see what this is on the floor. Because the floor is clean. And it's not there this morning or all day. So just imagine, the reason you're supposed to bring your neighbor a casserole or something is if their pots aren't unpacked, how are their family going to eat that first night? But they all came with their little chaos stories of people, being flooded, or things that the owners did to them over 20 years and stuff like that, right? So my stove is like that because my stove doesn't work. What they've been doing is advertising the apartments with new appliances, brand new appliances. That's what the ad said. That's what it is. I said, I did not choose this apartment. I didn't choose this building. My name was already on the lease when I ever saw this apartment, right? It was chosen for me by an agency that orchestrated this level of chaos and torture being added to my life. And then they came for a few months and they laughed about it. And then I asked that the agency be replaced. So you see, when he hits the floor, the floorboards pop up. See that? That shouldn't move. When he hits that floor, those edges shouldn't be popping up. They cause so much damage on purpose. So when you cause damage to a building on purpose and you're the owner, you're not supposed to get a tax write-off for your life. But they've been doing this for 32 years. With a 20-plus year documented history by other tenants that lived here or other buildings they owned in Nevada or California. And there's even an article from the UK talking about people's experiences here. So when somebody's trying to orchestrate, right? When somebody's trying to orchestrate chaos, when somebody's trying to orchestrate lowering your frequency, there are things that you can do. And luckily, with having helped over 121,000 people, I know that those things work. And so when someone is orchestrating things for your pain or try to attack your mental health or make you mentally unstable or, make you spiritually weak, spiritually harassed, make you financially devastated, all of that is to get you to use your free will to lower your frequency. Some people do it because they want you to join their group, meaning their group needs your light or their group sees you as a good fit, right? But if you say no, sometimes they'll attack you because you said no. So they want to create you saying you need a group. They want to create you saying, it happened to my clients a lot. It's like you say no to the group, right? Or like a bad man. A bad man wants you, but you don't want him. So he tries to create chaos in your life so that you need him. And it just depends on who your mom is and how you're raised, whether or not you will see that as an answer. And so very often, when you see that as an answer, right? That's not an answer if the villain orchestrated you being with him or you being in a group or you being in a city or you leaving a place, right? Meaning move from one city to another city so they can isolate the victim. So none of this needed to happen. None of this nailing, none of this happening. None of Edgar's time, right? And also, they brought 7 workmen here and pretended that they were going to do this. And they're used to not getting held accountable for any of their actions for 32 years. They're used to getting away with it. So they would just come by and laugh and hold up the building inspector's citation and laugh about what they're not going to do. When I say hold it up, I mean read it and flip through it and go line by line. And we're not going to do this and they're not going to do that. So basically they're not going to do anything they've been cited for. They're going to do some more evil. Right? So if I had put absorbent on this floor, then this would all be mold and it would have been a lot more chaos because absorbent keeps the floor dry when it's been soaked down to its core. And these boards were soaked all the way through front and back with 75 hours of 1 gallon of water speed, right? Because it wasn't 1 gallon of water. It was, the speed was clocked. Water is clocked. Right? So water is clocked by movement. So when they clocked it by movement, what you get is the movement of water is clocked by gallons or metric tons if you're talking ocean, right? Of how fast it's moving. So what it did was the water that was coming from the 9 places, like I could only see 4 places coming from behind the walls, right? So it was shooting from behind the faucet, not through the faucet, but from behind the wall where the faucet attaches. It was shooting from the back of that, right? So this, except for it wasn't this faucet. They broke the faucet that was here. See the marks where they broke the faucet? See the marks where they broke the faucet and let it do that because the building inspector told them to fix the flood? See how they didn't change the sink that they were supposed to change since I moved in? Some people moved out because there's so much black mold in their apartments, right? Their whole counters and walls and everything. And they were threatened. They were threatened that the owners would lie on them, which they've lied on me. My mom used to say, "Don't worry about people lying on you, Mia. They lied on Jesus," right? Because I have so much honor that when I was like in my 20s and I was teaching, I just went, because I talk to my mom all the time, right? And I said, "Oh, Mom, I can't believe they lied on me." And she was like, "Mia, they lied on Jesus." And so after she said that, I was like, oh, okay. So then no matter who lied on me, it didn't bother me anymore, because that just means they know you're doing what's right. And they're trying to trick other people to attack you, thinking that the warring angels aren't going to show up and still make them pay. What they're doing is making those people flying monkeys. They're making them into flying monkey sacrifices, though, because they know the warring angels are going to come for them. They know that. They know that the people they send to attack you based on the lies are going to get the spiritual retribution based on who you are as soul and what you've done in the world. Right? So spiritual, what you own spiritually is like, think of Chinese medicine. So in Chinese medicine, what we believe is energy flows through the body. And if you have some kind of illness, there's a block in the energy, right? But when you take it to higher levels, then what you end up seeing.
Hi, Gina, good morning. In Clement 116. Oh, no, asking Sonia. The key I put it in the mail, please. Because I'm working right here in Clement and 203. Yeah, in the noon. Yes. Because sorry, yeah, Sonia is no.
So share out the live in case,
yesterday,
and so that we can
in the night,
help some people in case things are being orchestrated to mess with them.
But don't worry, I gotta go.
So always remember,
because I installed the
when people are trying to affect your chi, which is like almost the same as frequency. Frequency is the measurement of energy. Okay.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to get you to have a lower level energy, a lower level vibration, a lower level frequency.
And I gotta go to the meeting and inspector right here.
Then what happens is.
But don't worry, I'll pick it up today.
They do blatant stuff like this.
In the garage.
They start to do physical world stuff. Because usually they sneaky, right? And when I say they're sneaky, they usually just do spiritual stuff and smile in your face and act like a friend, or act like a boyfriend, or act like a girlfriend, or act like your family, act like your sister, right? But it's just evil inside them. Acting like they're on your side so they can steal your energy, or so they can be like that spy, like during the some countries have a different level of honor and etiquette when it comes to if they're at war. Well, that affects your chi. If you have no honor, even when you're at war, you lower your frequency. So the chaos, the despair, the hopelessness that is orchestrated is always, not sometimes, is always done in an effort to lower your frequency. And usually it's because somebody envies your frequency, right? Or they want your frequency present so they can eat it like and leave you drained, thinking that if they drain you, body is usually full of something. You might not be full bottle, but you might be whole bottle of chaos. Or you might be a whole bottle, if it was color, it might be black dripping tar, right? You might be a whole bottle of black dripping tar. Somebody else might be a whole bottle of gold, luminescent, sparkling glitter. Well, the glitter's not going to say, oh yeah, fill me with black dripping tar. So the narcissist would be full of black dripping tar with a collection of bottles, like a whole 6-pack, 12-pack, or 24-pack of the whatever sparkle level he can get or she can get. So what they would like is if they can get a sparkle level that's like a chosen one, which would just be golden white light, right? So the narcissist wants that. And then they invite their friends to the party, meaning they meet up with their friends and say, hey, I found this sparkling light. I convinced them I'm the solution to their problems. And then they can all get straws and drink you. Well, they might have some friends that are bottles of black tar. And they'll say, oh, remember how you couldn't get your bottle clean? You can use this frequency to clean your bottle. Or they might say to other ones, oh, you know how you always doing this? Why don't you just pump it directly into them? Right? So they're pumping black tar while somebody else is drinking your sparkly goodness, and none of it's your energy. Well, when you do that to a chosen one, what happens is the chosen one's bottle is refilled without request. So the chosen one bottle has free refill. Got it? So they keep getting filled back up. To doing stuff like how they flooded my apartment for 75 hours, 7 inches of water, filling it up, and me sopping it up with newspaper and cardboard.
I need to move my car.
Every 30 minutes.
I need to move my car because I said the speed street.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'll be back.
So this, sorry. This was all done on purpose. And then they had the opportunity to fix it for months, but they didn't fix it for months and kept sending workmen to come in to do chaos, right? And that's all on the video. So when I say do chaos, they weren't coming to fix anything. They had no tools. They gave no notice. They would just send them in. They would come in, chant, mutter, leave little folded piece of paper with stuff drawn on it, leave little bags in the back of cabinets. Now, if you don't clean your cabinets, you wouldn't know that, but I clean my cabinets at least once a week. And some cabinets every 2 weeks, like, pantry cabinets. But most people don't only clean those like once a month, once a year, right? And so they expected those things not to be found. But one thing I also found was in this cabinet right here, when I moved in, the cabinets were empty. They were all broken. They're still broken. They're on the inspector's reports that they either don't close and they hit you in the head when you walk by, or they literally fall off, like this one, right? This cabinet, when you open it, it just falls to the ground and stabs you in your foot. You don't believe me? Watch. And that would be your foot getting stabbed. Which is why that little wind chime is there to say, if you open this cabinet, remember to move your foot. Right? But when people are doing what they know is something evil to you, you can always count on, which is why we should all read classic literature and everybody deserves a good education, because this is not a new game. This game is thousands of years old, which is why I want you guys to know the spiritual tools, the scientific tools, and the ways in which you can not let somebody affect your chi in this way, not let somebody lower your frequency because they're violating state, federal, and spiritual laws in order to torture you. You see what I'm saying? When you learn these kind of tools, when you learn these kind of skills, what you get is a lot of invitation from a lot of different groups to join and be a part of their society or, you know, their organization or whatever it is, because a lot of people don't have gifts, but they're part of something, right? And then those people get together and do things to cause energy to pull. But when you're like chosen one, earth angel, different spiritual names, different bloodlines, you are that energy walking down the street, right? So like my friend, that his family, they're just like dark bloodline for generations. And when he met me when I was meditating, remember the one? He waited like an hour for me to come out of meditation because he was just like, what the heck are you? But then he kept teaching me little tricks that he did throughout the day to bump into me. And every time I'd be like, oh my goodness, Michael, I can't believe you're here too. He would go, I orchestrated being here because I checked your space and I knew you'd come here. So I came here first so you wouldn't think I was following you. You have to realize there's people like me, right? So he would say stuff like that. But when you are thinking about people orchestrating things for your pain, right? Why do they want you in pain? Because some things eat pain. Why do they want you to lose your faith? Because you lose your faith, you lose your frequency. Why do you think they want to hurt your feelings? So that you lower your frequency. Yeah, take that in. And now that we had our little moment of quick silence, everything that's not love is trying to lower your frequency, right? The people sometimes know it, so that orchestrated, right? But if the people don't know it, whatever is making them feel like they should do it is orchestrating it. So I don't have a messy kitchen, so they made me have a messy kitchen. They had a man come unannounced, no notice, and he cut away the wall, like literally, and said, I'm just doing this so I can check on it and then I'm gonna fix it. You know, he never came back. He came back, but he never fixed it. He never came back and fixed it. It was more like gloating of, hey, oh, did you believe me? Right? So what happens is, yes, you guys, you're not crazy if you think somebody crazy is targeting you. Because somebody that's crazy and or evil and or narcissistic that is targeting you, they get frustrated when it's not working. So they always tell you. So if you have a family member or a friend or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever it is you have that you love, right? I don't judge. But if they tell you something that sounds crazy, you need to start asking them more questions. Because when that narcissist gets mad at all the stuff they've been doing to torture you, like imagine being so upset that they surrounded me with chaos, they surrounded me with different types of magic, they surrounded me, and it still wasn't breaking me. Even when they would drain me, God would refill me, right? Then they would come by my house and do stuff like feel on the door. Well, my clients that have magical practice said what they're trying to do is suck up the chi. They're trying to suck up the frequency that's inside the house. So when they started trying to destroy the house, destroy the decorations, destroy, because that's normally my sewing room, literally looked like an 1800s sewing room and a French kitchen. That's how I set up the sewing room so it wouldn't look like, I don't know if you can go online and look up artist space and sewing rooms. There's a way to set it up where it looks like all the chaos and junk that it is, right? 1500 buttons because you only have 100 buttons, but you got 50 of this button and this, right? Because you're making some kind of outfit, or 1,000 yards of fabric. To make that look pretty and organized, I always do it like it's a store, right? Because when you walk into the store where you buy that crap, you don't feel like it's a bunch of chaos and evil. You don't feel like it's a bunch of, that's a Chinese medicine concept. Chinese and most of the Asian continent just have different titles for it, where chaos equals negative energy and sometimes equals evil. Okay? So like if they just left the floor like that, like he got that phone call of somebody saying, why aren't you here? The stuff they've been doing, they would literally leave that floor like that for like 8 months and laugh about doing it. Because as I teach my students, they're not made well, right? So you don't have to run around calling everybody evil and all that kind of stuff. You can just understand that we are all energy. God is love. And the reason that it says in, especially if you read the oldest versions of the Bible, but the metaphysics and the alchemy of love is the highest frequency. Second to that would be gratitude and then joy, right? Do you see how those emotions that are attached to high level frequencies are the ones that people attack? People don't want you to have joy. Sometimes we call it racism. People don't want you to have hope. Sometimes we call it sexism, right? So we call the isms other things, but they all have the same effect on frequency, because you don't have to let it affect your frequency. People try and they try really hard, but as they're trying, their crimes go from a physical thought, right, that reaches you energetically, or to chanting in words, or straight on to magic, right? So over time, they escalate the behavior because they haven't lowered your frequency. So when they flooded this apartment, they expected me not to fortify it and like try to contain it. They expected to ruin everything I had. When the wildfires already burned my house to ashes, my neighborhood was on fire for 10 days straight. And then my insurance didn't pay for it because they said I didn't have a mortgage. So they didn't have to fight the bank's lawyers. And I didn't even know what that meant. And so they said the bank's lawyers make $800 to $1,000 an hour. And when you think you own your house, if you have a mortgage, the bank knows they own your house. So when there's a national disaster, the banks go right to the insurance company and say, pay me my money. And your insurance company pays them because they don't want to fight those lawyers that make $800 to $1,000 an hour. So that's the way my insurance explained it to me, is because they don't have to fight the bank's lawyers. They weren't going to pay for my house because I didn't have a mortgage. Now, I have owned 3 houses, which is kind of cute because watch, it's going to be a 6. I own 3 houses at sometimes at the same time, but sometimes, one then another like that. But then I built 3 tiny houses because so the houses I owned were not tiny houses, but I did also own tiny houses because I built the tiny houses. But I built the tiny houses from spending 17 years at festival. So if you have a tiny house and you're at festival, it's like you have a castle because everybody else has like ranging from sleeping under a blanket on the desert sand or in the forest to using their clothes as the blanket, sleeping on the ground, to a sleeping bag, to a tent so small you could see the coyotes push their nose. I know because the coyotes did that one time while I was at festival and I was in my tent. And then get a bigger tent so that even if the coyotes poke their nose and say, hey, what's in the forest with us and what's in the desert with us, you don't see it. Bigger tent all the way up to like a whole house where you just drive it with a house and then, put the porch. So I I've bought physical homes, like homes that come with land that you buy, right? And then I wanted just environmentally, and for what my mom used to call stick and run, because normally I also own 22 acres of land. All of that was stolen, different times, orchestrated to have me have financial issues. And every time I fixed any financial blocks, somebody would orchestrate another financial block and brag about it. So when I say up their game, I mean up their game. They literally, if you don't notice, right, something happens, you're just like, oh, life happens. And then you go on to the next thing and you still have your joy and you still have your frequency. They will walk up and tell you what they did like a spoiled kid. Like, didn't you notice I just tried to ruin your life and I stole your house? Didn't you notice that I crashed your car, right? Didn't you notice, right? Didn't you notice I stole your car? Didn't you notice I put a spell on your boyfriend so he'll leave you? I was like, that's been done before, right? So when you use humor, humor is not part of most people's system of the healing, but laugh therapy works. Fake laugh therapy doesn't work because what you're doing is laughing at your subconscious pain. I'm telling you as a neuroscientist, when you do it, the brain sees it as you're laughing at your pain, which means you're bringing up all your pain and you're looking at it and you're laughing and it makes you cry because it makes you sad because that's not funny. But if you have something really good and really true to laugh at, or you make a joke while a villain's trying to add chaos or hurt your feelings or take your life or steal your house or steal your kid or steal your cars, right? Or hit your car while you're parked 11 different times in life. I've been at a red light or parked at a parking meter and somebody hit my car. Different cars, obviously, because one car couldn't take all that. But what they were trying to figure out is how did one soul take all that? So when people say chosen one, what they're trying to tell you is there are some souls whose whole job is to never lose their faith and add light and love to the planet. That's their whole job. So they come with armies, which is why if somebody gets you to attack a chosen one, they know there's armies coming for you. So they used you as a sacrifice to let the armies come for you. I don't want to touch it.
And you said you're doing? It's okay.
No, because I did that last time. The last time the workmen were here, 3 times, I let them use my broom. And then I end up no way to sweep the absorbent off the floor.
Okay, I gotta go buy one.
Ay.
Yeah.
Maybe buy that one.
But I don't know how to cash. Yeah, because I need to clean it up, everything.
So you came without a broom, and now that the floor, so wait a minute. So see how the floor is looking? So it is use my broom, and I've already sacrificed 3 brooms. Use it. No, use it, because I don't want you to go and leave it like this, because they'll leave it like this for months. So yeah, use my broom.
No, I buy one because...
No, because I want it done.
Oh, you want it done?
Yeah. So what I don't want is for there to be any excuse for not doing it, because look, remember this? This guy said he is coming back in an hour. That's 2 months. So just use the broom. You see how it goes? The plotting, the manipulation, the lying, the conniving, the constantly trying to leave something in chaos and disrepair. So when I was talking about the other stuff, he was gone. And then, of course, there was a little powwow. And now that they had the powwow, it has turned into, he did enough demolition for there to be enough chaos. So why not orchestrate, narcissist, right? Evil, what do? Orchestrate it to be your idea. And then What? Not come back? Got all that. All that stuff. See? I was gonna be like, oh yeah, let's do it and leave it like that. They came here twice with a new toilet seat, yet left the toilet seat broken for a year and 6 months. Actually, 19 months total. So a year and 7 months by the time they changed it. So see how that orchestrated work? Same pattern. Add more chaos. So that's how orchestrated chaos looks. Orchestrated chaos plans for more vibrational, physical things to try to lower your energetic frequency of a place, of a home. The stove doesn't work. That's why you hear the gas, because here they have done this in multiple apartments where they buy broken appliances or they move broken appliances from somewhere else that they know is broken because people complained or moved or whatever, right? And then you're gonna lay the other floor now since this one's bone dry. See the dust? Edgar?
Yes.
And then you're gonna do the saw and lay the other floor now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this floor is dry. I paid for absorbent. I didn't have money for food thanks to the orchestration.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I told you. Give me 1 second. The plumbing maybe is coming today.
Okay, good.
Because when I send the finish the plumbing, I fix the sink.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I gotta go for, at 10 o'clock because I needed more material for the fixer right here.
It's 9:44.
Yeah.
So the phone call you
I
got.
clean it out right here. Don't worry. I'm working. We finished the floor today, and the plumbing guy is coming and they check it out everything.
So they gave no notification, no notice for the plumbing guy coming. Every time they give notice, they don't show up. Then they try to lie and say they gave 24-hour notice when it really would be like, matter of fact, they used to not even give the fake 24-hour notice. But the fake 24-hour notice is it'll say 24-hour notice. It'll be a 2-hour notice sent on a Sunday at midnight for Monday at 8 a.m. And then anytime that there's notice and you say, okay, I'll see you then, then they don't show up at all. But that phone call was for him to go somewhere else and leave my floor in disrepair when how they got in here was claiming, oh, they never get to come in, which is why there's 192 hours of footage on video of them being in here, but not repairing something that takes a few hours. The slats are outside to do this floor, right? So he came to do a floor, he does flooring, but he didn't bring a broom. And then tried to say he needed to leave, not the phone call that we heard, right? Because we heard the phone call. But that he needed to leave to go get a broom, right? So let's see what it'll be of. The tool is there, the saw is there, the slats are here. So there's no reason. There's no reason at all for him not to install this floor right now. That's what they've been doing. Just like I said, villains will show themselves always, right? Because it's always the same pattern. So the building inspector said they don't understand. Normally for something like this, you would get that. You come with a broom, you come with a shovel bag. We just saw him do this. we see the floor is torn up, so now it's not even able to be walked on. And then there's the gotta go to the car to move the car. We live in that neighborhood. There's no meters. And then the return to get the pack of cigarettes and the phone call. So all of the manipulation would be, oh yeah, we ripped it up. There's no reason not to put the new floor right now because the tools are here. The workmen is here. They're live on tenants to say tenants don't let them in, but they come in, provide more chaos. Until I pointed this camera over there, it was like, just leave all the paper, all that stuff, just leave it there and go somewhere else. And then they won't be back for a few more months and just leave the chaos. And then go and lie and tell the building inspectors they weren't able to do it because they couldn't get in. When I have cameras, which shows, but somehow they always tend to think sending an email with a lie, with a fake 24-hour notice, backdated. Those are crimes. But sometimes people are already criminals. So they're not worried about other crimes. Their real crimes are much worse. Their real crimes are nothing in comparison to these things. So if he didn't plan to leave it unfinished, why didn't he bring a broom? Why didn't he bring a shop vac? You've installed those floors before, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I needed to buy the knife in the store because I don't have the knife right here.
But that's what you told me yesterday, is that you came yesterday
and
that you went to Home Depot and bought all the stuff. So you bought the flooring.
I got the flooring, right? Because when it's in the plumbing coming, let's check it out, the plumbing. Because it's the vendor, not vendor, it's the plumbing, but had the license, right?
Yeah, that would be good to have finally
when it's in the finish,
somebody with the license that the building inspector required.
It's a big company.
Months ago.
Yeah, it's a big company. It's the one guy.
So did you just tear this floor up and come on a day that you didn't have an appointment and
but don't worry.
Cut the baseboard. So why not finish it?
I put it the baseboard because I needed to buy the knife because I forgot in my house.
Oh, you did? What kind of knife do you need?
It's the knife, that one.
So, you know how under the sink has been like that for 2 months? They'll leave this floor like this for 3 months. There's 9 places where they came in, made chaos, made something unusable, and left it. There are 4 to 6 apartments because I haven't seen 2 of them lately. I have that.
You have it?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
But when you specialize in installing floors, I've installed floors because I grew up and my family teaches us.
I need no speak too much because I'm not concentrated because I cut my finger or something.
Okay.
You understand? Because I need working and no speak too much. That's okay for you?
Yeah, that would be good. So see the making of excuses. It's 9:51 a.m. on a day they didn't have an appointment that they claim they're going to put the new floor. That's what it says at the beginning of this live. You will see that. You will see the, oh look, we're here to put your floor. Here's the boxes. This is all about access. Energetic access before a hearing. and then to cause disruption and chaos. Listen closely. And there'll be another lie of another reason to leave the chaos unfinished.
Pues no está, si no está, pues el experto no puede entrar tampoco. ¿Por qué no te lo lleve de ahí? ¿Quieres hablar con ella? No. No.
Trash and chaos that's outside in the home. They leave that for there for about 2 or 3 weeks. All on video. So real energy frequency, some people's presence is all it takes because of all the stuff that's attached to them. So they want to gain access to you or your space to pollute it. They weren't able to get you to pollute your space.
Que me da mucho little more fish.
Yeah. And of course, you know, how, like little kids, it's always different when somebody's watching than behind. So normally the comments are different, the attitude is different. There's more laughing and gloating. which is why you're here. Plan to leave the chaos in the trash. Why didn't he rip those when he ripped everything else? And that's why you read classic literature. Because if you were to do so, you probably would see like a broom in the truck. And as a girl who normally drives a truck, palette knives, box starting to dent the wood because there was a plan. So just say, why wasn't that pulled before? Because the plan was to leave it.
Yes. Para entrada se marca 986. Sí. Sí, eso no tenemos llaves de ahí. Sí.
All that way here is where that little skirt. So when people are spiritually polluted and they do things that cause spiritual pollution and they come to their home, what's attached to them tends to want to stay because it's a higher frequency than what they already dirtied up. And if you look and review it, he really did all that. And I've installed those kind of floors in my spa, my office, one of my houses. Thanks for joining. For 10 minutes in your hand. See how it's active. Now, in some places, that means some people.
Yo creo que el pinche, ese güey le cambió los códigos, pues, porque es 986. ¿Cuándo se entraba yo? Sí, nada más.
So they didn't come when they were supposed to. Then they came because, you know, there's a hearing coming up, so they're desperate to pollute the space. And then they wanted to lie and say, so they made false paperwork. But that pattern's exposed in those 32 years. Those what was one news story is now 3 news story, is now people going all over the internet saying they did that to me too 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 10 years ago, 18 years ago, last month, 5 months ago. Same pattern. So if the intent was to fix the floor, then we should see a new floor. Instead of all that stuff left everywhere saying, you gotta go. The saw is there. So if the tent was the new floor, why did he leave peace? And why has he been hammering? There's no more nails, there's no more stuff. If they hadn't flooded it on purpose for 75 hours, none of this would have had to be done. But it doesn't matter what you try to bring, try to do. All the spiritual rules still apply. Meaning when you resort to physical chaos in a space, because all the other stuff you did was not working. And then you make defamation. That's what it's called when you lie on somebody, to create a narrative. So you can continue a pattern you've been doing for 32 years. and act like the new person is the causation for a pattern you've been enacting, carrying out in the same way systematically for 32 years. So really it was to leave that chaos nest, kind of like the way under the sink has been left that way for more than 2 months now. And believe you me, the narrative would be different, the vocabulary would be different, the attitude and action would be different if you weren't here right now.
Oh, okay. Ya puedo trabajar a gusto.
So what they've been doing to people for 30 years is like, leave that for a couple months to teach you.
Sorry, the comfort Friday and they change good luck because the part of the yeah Friday yeah. Yes. Friday is in the morning or in the morning depende de at what time they come and deliver. Okay. Yes, good. Thank you, appreciate it.
So hopefully what he does is not do their usual pattern of chaos and harassment and chanting in your house and leaving their attachments. They'll install this because look at all this flooring that's needed is here and the panels that needed are here. So there's nothing for him to do but install it. Let's see if he installs it or if he makes an excuse and leave it like this hole in the wall that's been there for months that they said they were going to fix an hour after they cut it open. Unannounced, just showed up. It would be better if everybody was licensed and bonded. Invite more of your friends to join. It's not going to change what they did. It's not going to change that they're going to have to be held accountable. They're used to energetic harassment, physical violation of laws, and then more energetic harassment. Over there right now. that it's hilarious to be here. That floor. So thanks for being here. So at least there's the progress of taking the trash. Let's see how long they leave the trash in the hallway. Normally the average is between 3 weeks and 3 months, depending on what the trash they create and put in the hallway is. Nobody else puts trash in the hallway. Like no apartments, no neighbors. Just when they do this little performance. Harassment. This is work they had 6 months to do. May the kingdom of heaven has come nearer to you, sweetheart.
Excuse me. Excuse me. ¿Es posible I need to move the fridge in the front? It's okay?
No, you don't need to unplug it.
Yeah, because I need a space. Because I put it back, I'm back, I put it back, I'm back.
So where do you want it to go? You want it to go right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need a place.
Yeah, so let's move it forward, right? So see how I'm slacking the cord? Where do you want it? You want it like here?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, yeah. You see? So there was so much slack in the cord. There was no reason for that. The frustration is you guys here. Christ be with you, sweetheart. The kingdom of heaven has come nearer to you. May you be filled with the blood of Jesus. Everywhere, in every way.
I'll take a video for my face, please.
Ooh, it's very dusty.
No, because the Russia is the same, repeat. But everything was fine today.
Okay, good. So thanks for being here, you guys. See how we're gonna leave that big trash mess? See how there's like 6 phone calls?
You got a knife, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need it.
Okay. Are you gonna remove that wood with the nails?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you forgot to lock the door. You've been locking the door. I was appreciating that this time. Look, forgot to lock it for some reason. So that pile of trash needs to go somewhere. So when someone's frequency is about disruption, that's how it got the, see how the gap in the slack in the fridge? That plug can go all the way over here and it can go all the way over here. But since the goal is more chaos, for the first time in an hour and a half, unplug it and move it. Yeah. because when a frequency isn't made right, the frequency's goal is displacement of positive energy. So this has to do with word, the reasons, right? The reasons stated, then this would have taken less time and no calls. But because this really had to do with appearance coming up, level 1 lie didn't work, level 2 lies didn't work, sweetheart's not working, right? When people make deals with lower level darkness, they sometimes don't understand that thing does not like you. So it doesn't care the kind of trouble or mischief it gets you involved in. Because it's just going to go on and you're going to deal with the repercussions of your actions while being, what did the pastor tell me? Call it their home. Yeah.
Here's an Ace Hardware store. I gotta go right now.
Huh?
I need a knife. Right here is at the Ace Hardware store. Right
But I have a knife.
Huh?
I have a knife.
I need it. You have it?
Uh-huh.
I don't see.
You need it now?
Yes.
Okay. So always remember the way that it works. So some of you may not have seen while one of the phone calls was happening, someone signed in and started chanting. Because when it's somebody who made a lower level deal, that's what they count on. They count on you not seeing them. What I count on after helping all those people is the same thing that helped and saved all those people. And so what they're not used to is somebody that sees them and their stuff. Here, you can use this one and I'll get you the other one too. So always remember, when people are, you're welcome. When people are pulling, right? That's one kind of energy. When people are pushing, that's another kind of energy. And what they're used to is smiling in your face, pretending like they're doing nothing. They're not used to somebody that helped like the 121,000 clients. They're not used to that. They're used to you believe what they tell you. You don't feel what they think they're doing. Just like let's see, I think it was 2 or 3 people in here and they tried all their normal stuff, but none of it worked. Whereas normally it would have worked on most people, or it would have worked on people that's used to judging people, right? I don't judge people. I listen to what God tells me, and He tells me what's going on. And then I act accordingly. I literally just pray more or do more. That's why I said about the announcement right? Because some people will always act like you're stupid. Got it? Got to keep bottles of water, and those are bottles of soap. Because they broke this faucet on purpose. You see? So it's supposed to be just lie after lie after lie. Because they figure you're too stupid to know that what you think you're seeing and you think they're doing other stuff. Which is why a lot of times people think, oh, they need to make this deal, they need to do this, they need to do that, they need to meditate more. When really, you need to be able to hear God. Hear with your soul. Hear with your heart. Not judge, right? When they wrote, there was a book and people went crazy, the Four Agreements, right? That's basic Native American etiquette. That's basic old Spain etiquette. Meaning, you don't assume and think you know. Meaning, not educationally. It is what you think you're seeing may not be what is happening. So you ask your heart or you ask God. When people are doing mischief and they're used to tricking people, like not as sophisticated as a trickster spirit. That's a Native American kind of spirit. And I think Africa has trickster spirit too, as a concept. So not thinking you're tricking people because you're smarter than the people or whatever that is, right? But that you're tricking somebody because they love God. You're tricking somebody because they're good and you can tell in their frequency that they're good, right? When those don't work, they become more obvious in what they're doing because the normal stuff they do doesn't work, which is why those two people that were in here chanting left. Now, it doesn't mean there's still not one person doing their little stuff, but like I said, the kingdom of heaven has come nearer to you. Thank you for being here, but you're not welcome. Some games are so old, it's boring. Like, really? If your next move can be guessed, I see a few of my friends in watching. Way to go, guys. For being here. I guess you felt you needed to be. Thanks for paying attention. The goal was not to finish the floor. The goal was to rip it up, leave the trash, and pollute the space. But when people pollute spaces, they are a polluted space. Do you understand what I mean by that? People that would come and do this and then leave it for months. That's all they tried to do. They have a system of doing that. And then they laugh and tell you not to tell the building inspector. But what they don't get is we're not telling the building inspectors. We have disgruntled neighbors that have moved over the last 30 years before I ever got here. We have current neighbors that are like backstabbers, smiling in their face, pretending like they're going along. That see it as It's time they paid for torturing them for 20 or 30 years. They're the ones calling. Thanks for those of you hanging out. Christ be with you. May you be full of the blood of Jesus, and the warring angels greet your path. So why didn't they do this 3 months ago? They've been in here. For something that they caused on purpose. This is how you deal with when people are trying to bring chaos into your life. When people are trying to send negative energy. When people are trying to send negative energy.